Speaker Pelosi with a big announcement about her major commitment to fighting inequality, because that's something she definitely really cares about, Rachel. Here's the announcement. She's creating a committee, a select committee, in fact, on economic inequality. You see there her official press release on the website. And this was actually something that really jumped down at you as like part of a normal system that is employed here in Washington to make people feel like things are happening and make activists feel like they're really engaged in the process, but really it's a way of sort of stiff-arming their demands and concerns.
Yeah, it's all theater here in Washington, but this one in particular is something I call the hamster wheel, right? It's designed to put her most activist members, the members most likely to cause her problems on this issue, she's going to put them on this commission. They are going to run on this hamster wheel and feel like they're doing something really important, when in reality, they're just being kept busy away from the House floor, the only place that actually matters for actual change on anything. They're going to be running on the hamster wheel of this commission, which will eventually put out a report that no one will read, and it will accomplish nothing. Avoid these things like the plague if you are someone who cares about change. And I say this to conservative activists. Let me say it here to progressive activists. Don't do this.
Yeah, well, I mean, it reminds me very much of the Biden-Sanders task forces that, was the only thing that Bernie managed to extract from Joe Biden before exiting the race, that you knew from the jump. Like, it didn't matter who you put on those committees. It didn't matter how good the recommendations were that were coming out of them. Like, here we are, days away from the Biden administration, and I'm not hearing anything about the recommendations that came out of the task forces whatsoever. What Pelosi says in this press release, she says, we're creating this select committee to be a resource to the Congress to make policy related to economic fairness, access to education, workforce development. Working with the committees of jurisdiction, the select committee will study and recommend proposals to make our economy work for everyone, powering American economic growth while ensuring that no one is left out or left behind in the 21st century economy. All fancy way of saying, like you said, they're going to study it, they're going to put out a report, and that'll be the end of that. So basically your point is here, when you see these committees purporting to be about fighting inequality or fighting into whatever it is, left or right, what they're really doing is putting up a roadblock, putting up like a sort of obstacle course to jump through rather than actually taking issue on that issue.
This commission has two goals. The first is to make Pelosi look like she's doing something, and the second is to distract, the members who actually want to do something from taking any meaningful action. And this goes back to something we talked about earlier in the week, which is, look, the only thing that matters in the House is action on the House floor. Progressive activists can learn a lot from the Freedom Caucus, who presented themselves as a political power bloc by really only focusing on action on the House floor. They could deliver a block of votes or they could withhold them, and that is where their power came from, was hanging together on these issues. They didn't get distracted by commissions. They didn't get distracted by other promises, because this is just one tool political leaderships have to distract, their problem members. My favorite one is we'll vote on that at some point, or, hey, this bureaucrat will call you, or, hey, can we just talk about it on the House floor? The only thing that matters at the end of the day is voting. And the more you can pressure and push action on that front, the more effective you're going to be. Because as we've learned from this whole $2,000 check debacle, the thing that they hate most is going on the record for anything, because it's a very, very powerful tool and can be used against them or for them in any number of ways.
And your point is so well taken that progressives really fall prey to these types of tactics. Like, they really feel like when they get put on the task force, because there's this like idealism there of like, they're really listening to my concerns and they really mean it. And these are my friends. How many times we hear Bernie Sanders say like, my friend Joe Biden, you're like, So it reminds me of, the force the vote debate that's happening on the left right now, because on the one hand, you have a faction of people who are saying, we need a vote on this key issue that is important to us, that's important to the country in the middle of the pandemic, Medicare for all, like, let's take a vote and put everybody on the record. And what you're hearing from at least some in the progressive wing of the party here in DC is like, let's not do the voting. That voting doesn't really matter that much. We're working behind the scenes to get on key leadership posts and committees, et cetera, et cetera. And all of that is ultimately just a way to sort of make them feel like they're being heard, make them feel like they have some sway and influence and power within the system, but ultimately to crush them and keep them quiet and keep them from causing trouble.
everyone wants to feel like they're a cool kid, right? That's how this town runs.
Yeah.
And these positions, these acceptance on these commissions, everything always feels like, oh, I'm getting invited to the table. You have to be comfortable not being invited to the table, because it's the only way you're actually going to be able to force, that kind of political action on the floor, which is again, I'm going to be a broken record on this, but the only thing that matters at the end of the day is what you do on the floor. It's voting.
So true, Rachel. Rachel, thank you so much for being with us all week. It's been phenomenal having you here. Always, you have such incredible insight. So thank you so much for that, and Happy New Year to you, my friend.
Happy New Year to you as well. And to all of you risers, thanks for having me. Saagar will be back next week to talk about aliens. I know there's a lot to say.
Yeah, there's an alien update. We missed an Epstein update this week as well without Saagar here, so we have been falling down on the job a little bit. But don't worry, friends, because Saagar will be back next week with all of those important stories and more. We're going to kick off the new year with friends of the show, Chuck Rocha, Kyle Kalinske, Brown and Joy Gray, and so many more. Ben Smith is going to join us to talk about what Biden can expect from the media versus what Trump got from the media. Remember to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of our videos. Also, don't forget to like and share as well. Happy New Year's, guys. Appreciate you all so much. You made it. You survived 2020. On to what's next. Enjoy, everybody.